projects. He has skill sets encompassing business consulting, technical proficiency, and project management. Is well equipped to drive growth and success in organizations. He has an analytical mindset with market research expertise and strategic thinking, which enable him to identify opportunities and develop effective business plans. He also has his technical acumen in satellite communication systems, computer hardware and software, and petroleum engineering, which makes him a valuable asset in maintaining critical infrastructure. He also has problem-solving abilities and commitment to excellence, and easily adaptable to dynamic environments to make him a valuable contributor to any organization with a proven track record of growth. Very, very amazing moderator we have here today to handle our session. And so without further ado, I'm going to be welcoming our moderator to take the stage. Thank you very much, Mr. AJ, for joining us. So you can unmute yourself and handle the session. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Thank you, Israel Bassi, for the citation. Good evening, House, once again. We are about to start our YP monthly technical meeting, captioned the Petrophysics in Well Reservoir Facility Manager. Today, we will first of all start with the safety brief. Next slide, please. Next slide, okay. We have to, consider our environment and the other people in the call by muting our mic when the facilitator, the resource person is talking, or the moderator. Then if you have any opinion or you want to make contribution, you can as well hit the icon to raise up your hand, which I will see on this other side of my end. You want to make a contribution in the chat box, you type C hyphen, then you can, the C stands for comments. Then you can continue with that. Then for questions, you type a Q, then hyphen for your questions. And then again, if you're putting on your listening device, be it your eardrop or your headset, make sure that you can hear the fire alarm wherever you are, or you are conscious of your environment in case you are maybe walking on the road or you're driving. Then be alert wherever you are with your environment in case you're using a listening device. Then finally, this is what I always say whenever I end a conversation with somebody, I always say, stay safe. Next slide, please. Take me back to the flow of the program. So I will quickly introduce the YP technical lead, Mr. Bassi Obunude. Forgive me if I murder your name. Give me a yellow card, don't make it red, please. The YP technical lead for our opening remark. Over to you, Bassi.
Yeah, good evening, good day, everyone. Please confirm you can hear me.
Loud and clear, sir.
There is no background noise, right? Okay.
No background noise.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Bassi.
Yeah, so thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining today. I must start with sincere gratitude to, all the folks that are in this call and those that will, of course, be joining. It's a very interesting topic we have today. I think every day or every time that we have sessions like this, I always think about the objective, and it's still the same. The objective is around sharing knowledge, around, building competence and, information sharing amongst professionals, the young professionals, and even beyond, right? And today, it's no different. We have a very interesting topic today, WRFM, Reservoir Facility Management, right? And this topic particularly speaks to a lot about what we do in Nigeria when it comes to oil and gas production, and globally, of course. I say in Nigeria because oil and gas, like we know, is our mainstay, and the proper optimization, right, and maximizing of our assets is what we need to actually ensure that the value that we expect to realize from our assets, is actualized. Because indeed, you can actually plan to get as much as you can from an asset, but if you don't have the right development practice, the right management, you probably end up suboptimally producing from the field, as it were. Think of it like a child. I mean, it's not just about giving birth to the child. It's about raising the child, nurturing the child in the right way to make sure that that child actually builds up to his or her potential and fulfills it. That is how a field is as well. Bring it on stream. You need to put the right strategies in place to make sure that you deplete it in the right manner so that you can realize the maximum value. It cannot be understated, especially in times like this when particularly you don't see a lot of companies spending a lot in exploration and bringing in new fields and new projects. It's all about managing what you've got, maximizing it, and making sure that the potential is realized. So as oil and gas professionals, I think this topic really comes to mind powerfully to all of us. So I'll crave our indulgence to give it the right attention, pull as much as we can from the presenter who is well versed in this, right? Ask as much questions as you can as relates to petrophysics, as relates to the general WRFM, because he himself, like I know, is a strong development practitioner even beyond petrophysics. So feel free to, explore, think, ask questions, and learn. And I believe at the end of the day, we would have a lot to be thankful for, and we would fill our notes with a lot of points and good learning tips. So I think with that, I'll just hand it back to the moderator and wish us a very excellent session today. And back to you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bassi, for your insightful opening remarks. We will have to go on to the next item, in the recognition of senior member, which will be done by my amiable YP chairperson, Ofure Udege. Is Ofure on the call? Over to you, Ofure. Okay. Please.
Okay, I can.
Okay.
Thank you. I've just been made
a
co-host. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining. Despite the rains, I know it's a virtual meeting, but it's raining cat and dog here in Port Harcourt. But I still see over 42 of us on the call. Thank you, and I hope your day has been great so far. And thanks to our technical team lead that just helped us with the opening remarks, fantastic opening remarks. Of course, the subject or the topic for today is really very important, especially with managing your existing assets. So currently, I don't see our senior members of the call, but hopefully they'll be joining us soon. Though our speaker is actually a senior member of SPE. So thank you so much, Mr. Maswell. For your time and for accepting to come share knowledge with the young professionals of SP Section 103. I will just leave it at that for now. So when we have them on the call, we'll recognize them. Thanks to every one of you for joining. And please ensure that you garner as much as possible and feel free to ask questions after the presentation from our speaker. Do have a wonderful time. Thank you. Over to you, moderator.
All right. Thank you, my YP chairperson, for your, for your kind words and the introduction. Then we have to go to the next agenda,
Sorry, just before I leave, so I see Dr. Toyin from Uniport. Thank you so much, Dr. Toyin, for joining.
Yeah, I thought
see
you missed
Monica
that.
Wobo. Apologies for that.
Yellow
I see
card.
Monica.
Yeah. I will make it red.
Thank you. I see Monica Wobo from Lisa. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining. We're really grateful for your time.
Right.
Okay, over to you, moderator. I won't cut you again.
No problem. I just don't make me bring out my red card. That's on the side note. On to the next agenda. We have a resource person in the house who is an expert in the field of study we are about to listen to in petrophysics in reservoir facility management, be it Engineer Sunday Maxwell Abaduba. So please forgive me, that name is kind of a tongue twister. I make don't take it to heart. I will learn how to pronounce it better maybe when I meet you one-on-one. He is a Shell. He's from Shell and is from the Center of Excellence in Reservoir. So I will quite quickly go through his citation. So meet the speaker. Innovative, Mr. Engineer Sunday Maxwell Ambaduba. Innovative and improvement-driven petroleum engineer with over 18 years of industry experience. Possesses strong technical, business, and interpersonal skills. Worked in integrated teams and demonstrated expertise in petrophysics, formation evaluation, and geomechanics. For over 15 years with Shell Petroleum Development Company, SPDC, Shell proficient in people's management and up to date with the latest trends and technologies. A skilled communicator with a strong understanding of business priorities. Collaborated effectively, prioritized speed, simplicity, and stakeholder management, resulting in successful production and cost-saving projects, including the novel pilot SPDC produced water disposal project. Displays strong HSSE leadership mindset, adhering to design engineering practice, DEP, for integrated delivery. Passionate about coaching and mentoring young professionals, served as a petrophysics subject matter expert, XME, at Shell Center of Excellence, University of Benin, and as a guest lecturer in information evaluation at the Center of Petroleum Geoscience, University of Port Harcourt, and Rivers State University, master's class. Has coached and lectured over 250 postgraduate students in information evaluation subject and authored numerous SPE papers. Holds a bachelor's degree and master's degree in petroleum engineering from the University of Port Harcourt, a master's degree in mechanical engineering management from Rivers State University, and is an alumnus of SITP/Robert Gordon University, UK, certified professional by COREN/COMEG, and a member of various knowledge-based and humanitarian institutions, including NAPE, Chartered Institute of International Arbitration, member NSC, member SPE, Nigerian Red Cross, and ANMGS, and MNIM, whatever the acronym stands for, those are tongue twisters, among others. I want to welcome the speaker to this, our monthly technical meeting. Over to you, sir, Engineer Sunday Maxwell Abaduba.
Okay, thank you, moderator. I will quickly share my screen so that we can progress. Okay. Please confirm you can see my screen.
Not yet. I can't see it yet.
It's good now, sir.
Can you
Yes,
see it
we
now?
can. Yes.
Okay, on slide mode.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yes, we can. We can see it on slide view.
You can see it on slide mode.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. The topic before us is on petrophysics in WRFM, and I will try as much as possible to see that I bring you to speed on this. And I think I have 35 minutes for this. And then when I finish, you will be asking your questions, which I'll be readily available to answer. So I'll be looking at our presentation in this technical forum with the following content. So we'll talk around the petrophysics mission and fundamentals. And then we'll also talk around WRFM concept. Why do we need WRFM? So we'll look at the role of petrophysics in a WRFM, and then what kind of data do we deal with? And of course, I'll be talking around the conclusion with integration of petrophysics to deliver value. What are these values? That will have to do with the deliverables and then the rewards. So if you want to be a petrophysicist or you're already in the business, it will be a refresher for you. So for those who do not have idea, so we say that the mission of petrophysics is to identify and quantify hydrocarbon resources in the subsurface, and also to be able to know the kind of fluid type we have, and then dealing with the rock and fluid properties in the formation. Now, we do this over the life cycle of the field. So that's the objective of a petrophysics. Because we cannot access our hydrocarbon, we do not have the intellect to go subsurface, we have to lower downhole tools. Like you can see from what you have on the screen. Okay. So possible. We can only lower tools into the bottom hole. So when you lower the tools into the bottom hole, of course, it's going to send you some inferred data. These inferred data are then presented in a log form. It is the responsibility of the petrophysicist to do the evaluation. And in doing all this, there are specific kind of data in general context that we look at. That leads us to the fundamentals of petrophysics. What are the specific data that we are looking out for in general? We want to assess the mud log. We do this in integration with the geologists on the website. We also have core analysis on the website, who also collaborate and then deliver value. Open hole logs are taken as at when the well is being drilled. It is the role of the petrophysicist to do the interpretations and to be able to give value to the, to the operating company or to the asset owner. Now, in this context for today, we'll be talking more around when the well has been completed and when production has already begun. So I'll be talking more around case hole logs, talking about production, how we manage our production, how we can deliver, and how we can extend the life field of our producing assets. So on a nutshell, for the basics, what are we looking at? We're looking at the contacts and then the saturation. Do we have oil water contact, gas water contact, or we have gas oil contact? These are the things to look at. What is the value for our saturations? At initial condition, what's the value? And after we have produced our reservoir with time, what are we seeing as a saturation number? Are we, is it declining or it remains at original? These are the scenarios we play around. And in terms of the rock properties, still porosity, permeability, and lithology are babies in the hand of the petrophysicists to run around with. We do not do this as magicians. We lower tools into the well bore. They are in different form, resistivity log, neutron, acoustic signals, nuclear signals, and sometimes nuclear magnetic resonance are being lowered to derive and to generate these parameters that are being used as input into our volumetric estimate. We need to know what we have in the reservoir in order to quantify the reservoir. You cannot quantify without having basic parameters. Of most of the parameters that are being used to estimate our reserve, whether oil or gas, most basic parameters are babies for the petrophysicists. So as we step forward in this technical series, the concept is linking petrophysics to WRFM. So I'll be talking about WRFM, what it is well, what is reservoir, and what is facility management. So we have an objective. You cannot have a field and not manage it. You can't have a baby, like the lead said earlier on. You can't have a baby and not manage the baby. Your ability to manage the baby to growth to maturity and delivering value makes you a proper manager in parenting. So that is the focus. As we look at our wells, we look at our reservoir, we also look at the facility. We are oil producing country. Budget provisions are based on production, and the entire sector of the economy is being managed from the bottom line we get from the petroleum and gas industry. It then becomes imperative that managing our wells, our reservoir, our facilities becomes a kind of national concern. Not just national, the professionals that are involved will have to do everything to ensure that there is an uninterrupted flow of hydrocarbon to the tank, right? So in doing this, we must look at cost-effective manner as much as possible in maximizing our assets. So it is not a new idea. It's not a new initiative. It is what company must do to sustain production. Why do we have to sustain production? If you do not manage your production, you are likely going to be out of business and you will go bankrupt. You've gotten the reservoir, you put your facilities in place, and you projected for maybe 100 years production, 50 years production, 30 years production, based on your forecast. You want to ensure continuous production. It will then mean that your well, your reservoir, your facility needs to be built into your general understanding and concepts in order to form, an uninterrupted flow. So we need to build a general understanding of how our reservoir and wells, as well as our facilities, are going to perform. You need to know your subsurface pressure. You need to know your surface pressure, your inlet pressure, your outlet pressure. What's happening in your aquifer, and what are the challenges that you encounter. You cannot do this without getting or acquiring the needed data in a continuous manner or in a lapse time manner. That is where the petrophysics has significant role to play. So playing back a little, from when you start your exploration, you start putting in money into a project. As you put in money, you are acquiring data. You are estimating your volume. You are appraising your field using data. When you start your production, you want to have a payout, and also for further development purposes, because you want to extend the life of your field. What does the petrophysicist do? We continue to acquire data. We have our initial field development plan based on known data. As you begin to produce, the dynamics, what you know at initial, from initial data, things could begin to change. It then becomes necessary to continue to manage a health check on your well, on your reservoir, as well as other facilities in your integrated system that you have up until when you get to the abandonment phase. It is in line with this that we build static model. So we have a first-hand understanding. We then built a dynamic model. What do we need to build the dynamic model? From our static model, for our static model, we have initial open hole log data that we use to generate or to derive petrophysical properties, which are imputed into our reservoir model. Thereafter, we go into dynamic model. What kind of tools do we need to be able to acquire the information to manage our reservoir? At that point, we are into dynamic model. right? So in building this model, you don't work in a silo, you work in an integrated team with other technical professionals. So some of the things you'll be hearing me say in this presentation, I'll be talking about cement evaluation, perforation, reservoir monitoring, production logging, and corrosion. These are part of the tools that the petrophysicists use to manage our wells, manage our reservoir, and then manage our facility. And they form the bedrock for our WRFM petrophysical data. In WRFM, we are thinking about production, not just production. How do we continue to produce without deferment? How do we continue to add capacity to our facility, right? So we don't have a downtime. So the accuracy and understanding of our basic data is what will help us to build robust model that will last the test of time and also continue to calibrate until we sweat out our assets. So some of these tools that we'll be looking at and data we'll be acquiring are very basic, which I'm going to run through. So I'll be talking around production logging, what it's meant for, and at what point do we deploy production tool. I'll also be talking around reservoir monitoring logs, and then I'll be talking about cement evaluation, and then we'll talk of casing integrity and, of course, geomechanical data, right? Our subsurface is being challenged as we continue to produce. There will be loss in terms of pressure management of our reservoir. Of course, there could be slight chances that we could be having issues around subsidence and compaction. So in a nutshell, I'm going to talk around all this. So we want to know our casing condition. Is our well still healthy? What is the reservoir condition? Are we producing H2S from the reservoir? If we are having H2S being produced, is it affecting our tubulars? If it's affecting our tubulars, the chances is that we'll be having corrosion. It then means that we need tools to monitor our wells. Cement condition. Haven't done cement job in the past. Where are we today? And how effective was your previous cement work? Are we having issues around cement channeling? Are we having issues around hydrocarbon bypassing point of production into a TIF zone? Is the saturation being impacted on? What's the current lithology in our formation? Porosity, we also want to know our formation strength. Are we having our oil depleted, gas cap formation? All that is what we need to talk about in a nutshell, and then I will give you opportunity to ask your question like I earlier said. So production logging, why are we doing production logging? We are majorly concerned about what happened within the tubular. We are majorly concerned about what happened within the tubular. We want to be able to have a clear differentiation as we allow fluid is coming into the tubular. Based on forecast, are we having the required inlet and outlet from your wellhead? It could be that there is a no flow condition, possible low performance. It could also be that while you're expecting oil production, you're experiencing excess water production. It could also be that instead of gas production, you are also experiencing water production, or in your reservoir that is targeted for oil production, you are experiencing high gas production. Where is the gas coming from? These are the things you'll be able to use production log to be able to assess. Now, the standard tool looks like this. It has a lot of embedded tools in it. You need to acquire pressure data. Of course, we have the caliper log to see if the diameter of our tubular has changed. If it has changed, it means that there is chances that we could have leak. What are the kind of fluid that is flowing? Of course, that leads us to having capacitance. The capacitance of different fluid is different. So with that, we'll be able to know the type of inflow. At what rate are we having this flow? Is it as predicted, or there is a change? So other tools can be added into our standard tools to achieve healthy results. So this is just a play out from a production logging tool. We derive data such that we've done some perforations, and then we continue to monitor production using the production logging tool, and it gives us a clear indication of the percentage of fluid that comes in from different perforation inlets. And then it will also enable us to know the interval that is bringing in water for a possible shortout. So This can also be monitored in a three-phase dimension, such that it could tell us the kind of fluid production, oil, water, or gas, and at what ratio are they being produced. Other tools that we use to monitor our well, which is embedded into the production tool, is the temperature log. As temperature variation is supposed to be geothermal, meaning increasing with depth. Points where there is a deviation from the original geothermal gradient is an indication that there is an inlet of fluid. So these points can be noted as intervals where there is a possible leak and a possible remedial action, right? So I take you also to another tool that we deploy as Petrophysics in managing our wells and reservoir. They are the reservoir monitoring logs. As from initial production, you begin to produce your well dry, meaning you are producing dry crude. Over time, you begin to monitor your well and discover that water has begun to rise against initial expectation. Where is this water coming from? You cannot go into the well. It is then expected that we'll run some tools. These tools are being run. High energy gamma ray log are impulsed into the formation. Depending on the type of formation that are saline in nature, highly saline, we deploy the pulse neutron capture. And when we have very low salinity, we then deploy the pulse neutron spectroscopy, otherwise known as carbon oxygen log. So this is a typical case of our reservoir under initial condition. And over the years, as production continue, early life of the well, we begin to see depleted zone and non-depleted zone. The question is, if you have your perforation at the depleted interval, it will then becomes imperative to have a change in your point of opening into the formation in order to cut down the water inflow into your well. It is part of what we do. This is typical example of carbon oxygen log data, one from Baker and the other one from Schlumberger. For Nigeria and for my OU here, we use green for gas and red for oil. So with this, we'll be able to know zones that are being flushed off. If you look at this first one from Schlumberger, you will discover that there is a kind of flushing, meaning that the water is rising above and then you still have some oil. But at the initial, the contact is below, but it has now moved up. So these are the kind of things that we do as Petrophysics to be able to manage our well. Don't forget, what you take into account is what is the average cost of a well today. If you know the average cost of a well, you will then know the value in maximizing production through that well that has been drilled and completed. Other things we don't want to play about is our cement evaluation. We do our cement evaluation to be able to secure our well and to ensure that it is integral, because we do not want hydrocarbon to come to the surface outside the conduit that we have prepared. So to reduce this risk of unintentional release of hydrocarbon to surface as low as reasonably practicable, we do very serious cement evaluation and ensure that our cement work is integral. I will not labor you much about how the CBL operates. They're in different mode and in different kind. So it's just a case of looking at cement evaluation. If you have a bad cement bond between the well, will be high, meaning that there is no cement, right? And when the cement is okay, is good, it has, served the purpose of isolation. It will give a very low amplitude indicated with what you're seeing. So there are other objectives for the cement, which I've just highlighted. The most important thing is that we want to ensure that we do further drilling when drilling, and then of course manage our production effectively. Of course, you have your production tubing, right? And if that pipe is in place, you do not want, the pipe to get bad. So you also be checking for corrosion. You do the cement and ensure that fluid from the formation is not having interaction with your tubing. It also helps to do hydraulic isolation, meaning fluid does not move from one zone to another. So the objective is zonal isolation. We want to locate the top of cement and all that. So if this has changed over time as a result of temperature and pressure effects, we still have a solution. We can do what is called remedial squeeze and get things sorted out by isolating the zones that have been compromised as a result of, change in formation, right? So this is just a basic kind of log where you have a good bond because the amplitude is low and it's the old vintage log, and then you have a poor bond when the amplitude is high. In present time, we run this type of ultrasonic image tool such that it gives you a 360 radial of your well. With that, you'll be able to determine the angle or the points that are not properly cemented. You can see an indication of top of cement, good cement, where you have this brown patch. Complete brown patch are good zones that have been completely cemented. However, like I said earlier, if you have a case of a bad cement work, we can still do remedial squeeze. This is a case of a bad cement work that was done. The bond index is when a remedial cement work was done. So we also monitor corrosion. As Petrophysics, we monitor corrosion in our well. If our wells are tubulars and even our pipes are corroded, maybe you've heard of non-destructive testing on pipelines. These are continuous checks that are being done to ensure that our pipes are integral. Now, wireline evaluation, right? It is estimated that 1% of total operating costs of the petroleum industry could be saved by correcting application of existing corrosion protection technology. So what do we do? Corrosion control is particularly cost-effective for deep or remote well. Those expected to have a long life or for wells producing CO2 and the H2S. So by predicting these problems around corrosion, we will be able to save situation before we have a catastrophic failure. So when we're able to identify failure, we can as well minimize cost of repair. So this is what actually happened downhole. You have your redox reaction actually taking place. You have part of your metal becoming the anode and the other one becoming the cathode, losing metal and gaining metal. These are not visible to the eyes, but our tool will tell us what is actually happening. From this schematic you see here, there is an attack of acid on our tubular. We have saline fluid, we have corrosive fluid, and we also have effect of bimetallic change, meaning two metals increasing in temperature and pressure. They have different coefficient, which leads to different rate of expansion and contraction. So with that kind of activity taking place downhole, it could result to failure. These are typical examples of failures that were detected by deploying petrophysical tools in our wells. This is a pipeline that has actually been a pipe or tubular that have been corroded. And here we have a case of catastrophic failure. If this was not detected early, it has already gone bad. But if this was not managed out, of course, there will be spill in the environment. So to avoid this type of situation, there is every need for us to have a base log data. And then subsequently, we acquire other logs at lapse time, program time. So we'll be able to determine the rate of failure and equally take measures to avert this type of situation. So other case hole logs that we acquire, that the petrophysicists acquire to be able to manage a reservoir, are also like the case hole formation testing, acquiring pressure data. We can also acquire resistivity log, density log, neutron log, all in a case hole situation. There are also cases of monitoring subsidence. I'll talk about that. And of course, if at the cost of managing a reservoir, we discover that there is an opportunity to enhance production, it is the role of the petrophysicists to determine point at which we're going to carry out those perforation activities in order to gain more oil into the tank. So part of the solution that we provide, that the petrophysicists provide, is a geomechanical solution. As you keep depleting your reservoir, the chances is that we'll have subsidence. We could have subsidence. We could also have some fault activation. There are places where they do water flooding and also produce water injection. We need to build model to be able to have a good handle of our formation behavior and advise on modalities. We are not interested in producing oil alone. We are also interested in safeguarding our environment. So these are some of the roles that the petrophysicists play in ensuring that we continue to optimize production. So production operation are accompanied by pressure, thermal and fluid changes in the subsurface, and this result in change of stress and strain. It then means that we need to acquire data to be able to know what the stress of the formation is and what the strain looks like. So these changes can only be monitored if we have a good surveillance practice of acquiring data. So in conclusion, I would like to define the kind of integration in carrying out our WRFM practices that the petrophysicist does. What are the deliverables and the results and the reward? So here is the guy, the petrophysicist. He is a petroleum engineer. He relates with the well engineer. He also relates with the drilling engineer, the production guy. We carry out rigorous activity, well intervention activity, define the scope of how the well intervention activity will look like, because they are the custodian, or the petrophysicist is the custodian of the log. We also relate with the IT, information technology. Of course, the logs are in they have database, so we need some IT applications to manage the logs. In terms of evaluating our logs, we also have some applications. For example, we have TechLog projects. If you know, Cypher Crescent, for example, uses CEPAL, right? And also there are informations that we can get. So we relate with the information technology team. Of course, there are many contracting firms that are involved in working with the petrophysicists, the Baker Hughes, the Halliburton, Schlumberger, and many others, right? So in terms of exploration and production, which is not the main core for this subject of discussion, this subject of discussion is around production, where we carry out the WRFM practices relating with our wells, and then also doing our rigorous intervention, solving problems that arise from our existing well. So current economic conditions are providing opportunity and challenge to increase recovery from existing reservoirs, an activity in which WRFM practice are playing a major role. So the petrophysics tools available today are a significant improvement over the tools available just some few years ago, with enhancement in processing, measurement precision, and then borehole corrections. So the knowledge of tool limitation and integrated use of all available well data remain an essential element of case hole log application to WRFM. So that is where we are. We continue to interpret and advance the course of our prospect by improving data in managing our dynamic model. The deliverables are quite enormous, but just to mention a few, it will help us to be able to identify if we have all this data that we gather from all these tools that we deploy. It will help us to be able to identify some short-term oil or gas gain opportunities. It will enable us to determine if our well is due for workover. It also helps us to know our source of water production and also have a good understanding of our subsurface dynamics as well as our drive mechanism. Not only that, it will help us also to calibrate our predictive models. Other situations that it will help us address is the well challenges, mechanical issues around our well. What is our production efficiency? Do we have a thief zone in our well? Do we have water coning or channeling around our cement? So these are the kind of things that we will be addressing or we address as petrophysicists in the WRFM space. Now, what is the reward? The petrophysicists play fundamental and key role in hydrocarbon resource development. It is an exciting career path, well-defined, and you enjoy same opportunity as other petroleum engineers. I think I'm going to stop here, and thank you for listening. And I know that quite a number of talented folks have, penned some questions together. So the space is open for the question. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you, Engineer Sunday Maxwell, for your insightful presentation. This presentation tonight has unlocked, for me personally, my knowledge of petrophysics tied into reservoir facility management, because I have a kind of interest in that area. Then again, I would want you to, drop maybe your email for maybe the participants to reach out to you at the end of this program, this presentation, for more mentoring. That being aside, please, if anybody has a question, please kindly bring them rolling and indicate by raising up your hand. If you want to put in the chat box, which I am currently looking for now, no question. I will be expecting most of your questions so that I can, read it out to the presenter. Thank you. Okay. Someone, Adedolapo Awoniyi, is saying, what did you mean by tip zone? I think basically maybe he's asking, what do you mean by a tip zone? So over to you, presenter, speaker.
Okay. Okay. I expect questions like this. Okay. Thief zone does not mean a thief as a person. There are reservoirs that we do not expect our fleet to be going into as a result of pressure depletion, as a result of compromise in the integrity of our well. So it could lead to channeling, fluid flowing behind your casing, or a leak in your casing and your tubular. Due to low pressure in that zone, instead of your fluid coming through the well bore to the surface, it is then escaping into that reservoir that has lower pressure. That reservoir becomes your thief zone.
Okay. Thank you, speaker. Quickly, we only have 10 minutes for this question and answer section because our time has been fast spent. I can see a hand raised. Emanuela Abo, please unmute your mic and go ahead with your question. Okay, that being out of the way, I can see another question from the chat box, which says,
I can unmute now.
Okay, please go ahead. Make it snappy. Thank you.
Thank you too. Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Engineer Sunday, for this wonderful presentation. So I have two questions. My first question is as regards water cooling around your cementing. So if you're having water cooling around your cementing, are you at risk of maybe damaging the cementing? Or please mind you, I'm not a petroleum engineer, so my terminologies may be a bit off. Yeah, but I'm just curious, if you have water cooling around your cementing, are you at risk of maybe damaging the cement formation there? I don't know if I'm clear on I don't know if my question is clear. Then the second question I have is as regards like maybe the strength of your aquifer and the role that WRFM has to play. So I understand that like in the subsurface, there are a lot of uncertainties. And for instance, maybe you're not sure. I don't know if there's a case where maybe you may not be sure of like the strength of your aquifer. So is it also like in WRFM, are you also like checking or trying to read data to determine the strength of your aquifer, maybe just in case the aquifer strength is not enough to drive the reservoir pressure, and you might need to resource for external source in your driving mechanism?
Okay, I will take it from the last question. Moderator, can I go ahead?
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Okay. One, we continue to monitor our reservoirs. We acquire pressure data. If our pressure is not able to support the flow of fluid to the tank, it then becomes a challenge. You've heard of the use of submersible. You also heard of the use of a gas lift. That comes into play. At what point do we deploy the gas lift? Is it at original condition, initial condition, or when we discover that our pressure has declined? In terms of gas, you might have heard of compression, gas compression. This is because we monitor the pressure continuously to ensure that if there are challenges, we provide the support to sweat the asset. We talked about water coning. Water coning is a challenge. We don't need the water. What water coning means is that you suddenly have a water break into your production. We don't need the water. What we need is either oil, or we're talking about, what we need is the oil. So at what rate are you producing your well? And you're now having water coning. So we need to check if it's as a result of the withdrawal pressure or the withdrawal rate. So we run the PLT. If it is the withdrawal rate, then we will be advised as WRFM practice to lower your bin-up sequence in order to mitigate the water production. Now, depending on the kind of water that you are even producing, on the nature of your formation, if you have acidic water, of course, and your tubulars are not the strength or the material that makes up your tubular cannot manage that kind of acidic formation, of course there will be corrosion. So these are the things we try to mitigate against. I don't know if I answer your questions.
Yeah, very well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Presenter. I will quickly, run through the questions in the chat box because we just have limited time. Our time allotted for this program is, this session is just 5 minutes left. So I will just quickly take the best 3 questions from the chat box, which I will throw to you, then you can, run through the answers. I will quickly take one from Uche, Saint Uche, who says, what are the risks associated with a fade liner cement? Then another one from Gerald, here saying, thank you very much for an excellent presentation. As we know, proper WRFM health check require routine data acquisition. For subsea development and aging assets, data acquisition can be quite expensive and is usually avoided by operators. How do you manage data gaps in such cases while ensuring proper WRFM as a petrophysicist? Over to you, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Let me start with failed liner. If your liner failed, I'm not trying to be an expert in all the fields. I want to talk as a petrophysicist. There are others in the room, they can speak. So if your liner fails, and that is your conduit for your hydrocarbon, it would then mean that you're going for a walkover, right? But you don't allow a situation for your liner to fail before intervention. So we acquire data periodically to see if we have challenge with the liner at first and ensure that that failure did not occur. It will then mean that we'll spend less in mitigating the situation than when we have a total failure, and then we spend more in addressing the issue. Then the other question, can you recap the second question?
Okay, it's basically, it comes in two parts, a comment and a question from Gerard.
Okay, cost.
Gerard.
Cost.
Yeah. The last paragraph, the last sentence said, how do
you
you
mentioned
manage
cost? How do we manage that? How do we manage
Yes.
data? Very good question. Before you even go for the data, you ask the value that the data will give. And you also look at the economics in terms of what you have remaining to produce. You don't just go to acquire data because you want to acquire data. What problem do you want to address? In addressing the problem, what will you add to the tank? How many barrels are you going to produce by acquiring that data? Those are the checks. If going to acquire data will not lead to adding barrel to the tank, then it's not economically justifiable. Yeah, so the economics here is the driver.
Okay. All right. That being said, at this juncture, we come to the end of this particular section, the Q&A section. We are moving towards the next session, presentation of our certificate to our speakers. So I would love to call on our our publication, publicity lead, Dorcas Jimmy Otis, to present the certificate to our presenter, our speaker, rather. Over to you, Dorcas. Hello, Dorcas, can you hear me? Okay.
Please make her a co-host, Simeon.
Okay. Hello. Is Dorcas, if you can hear me, you have been, yes, hello, Dorcas.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My sincere apologies. Thank you to our speaker and our teacher. That was one amazing session. I almost want to switch to become a petrophysicist, but I'm sure it's petroleum. Thank you so much. That was so insightful and unlocking so many informations. Thank you so much. Valid informations. All right, so on behalf of SPE, of SP Port Harcourt section, as a way of saying thank you so much, appreciating you, and also giving you something to look back on for giving back to this great organization certificate. It says Certificate of Appreciation. This certificate is proudly presented to Engineer Sunday Maxwell for volunteering as a speaker for the 2023 June monthly technical series. Thank you so much, sir. We sincerely do appreciate. I'm not surprised you delivered top notch. You were my teacher in masters, and that was one of the best courses I went through. Thank you. Thank you so much, Engineer Maxwell. Thank you for your time, and thank you for volunteering to do this for us. So we can drop our virtual round of applause on the comment section or reaction for this. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. And also, if you know this was a very awesome session for you, I should see your reaction of hand clap or something for this. Also, we have a certificate also for our moderator. Thank you, Ade, for it. Anasie, thank you for the reactions. We also have for our moderator, Simeon, could you put that up, please?
Okay, that for the moderator will be shared with him, but you can please just go ahead to appreciate him.
Okay, thank you so much, Kim Pama. Thank you, AJ, for taking the time out to volunteer to moderate this section. You did a great job and you were very good with your time management. We sincerely do appreciate. Thank you so much. On behalf of the YP arm of SP Port Harcourt section, we say thank you and we appreciate you.
All right, thank you, Dorcas, for your kind words. At this juncture, we are going to move to the next itinerary for this program, being the photograph. Please kindly turn on your camera so that we can see our faces, and our smile and the twinkles in our eyes, because this presentation is quite intriguing. I don't expect anybody to not go home, remain the same, So I want to see our smiley faces. Simeon, over to you. Let me know when you are done with this. Please, I can see a few people not turning on their video. I want to see your twinkles, the twinkles in your eyes and the smiles on your faces. Some pictures are not here. Monica Wobo, no picture. Lucky Lelap. I just have to call out names. We want to see your faces for the grams. Thank you, Anasi Ngochu. Thank you, Kingsley Ogu, Patrick Okete. Thank you. I can see your faces, and more are yet to come. Thank you, Omubo Pepo. Thank you, Nerios Anelechi.
Okay, I think we are good.
Okay, we are good, Simeon?
Yeah, we can go on.
Okay. With this being taken care of, I will quickly go to the nitty-gritty of this program, which is the membership drive. The membership drive in the membership drive. Please, is there any person from the membership team?
Yes, I'm here.
Please introduce yourself and go ahead with the membership drive. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you very much, Nkemka. My name is Emanuela Agbo, and I am the membership committee chairperson for the young professionals. I don't know. I think by now I should be membership famous because I'm always taking the membership drive in all our SP meetings. So essentially, I have a very simple assignment here to ensure that you are an active, bona fide member of SPE. So when I mean active, that is, first of all, your membership is not up to date and you really want to get involved with what we are doing in SP, you can reach out to me, or you can explore the SP website, and it's very easy, it's user-friendly. You'll be able to see how you can renew your membership. For people that are already members of SP and want to renew their membership, membership renewal is about 21,000 naira. Then for those of us that are looking at SP from the outside, you don't want to, you're wondering how do you want to come in, and become part of the SP family. It's pretty easy. You can either reach out to me on LinkedIn and I'll guide you through the registration process, or you can just pay via the SP website. It's like I said earlier, it's user-friendly and you'll be able to sort out your membership. But one thing you should do, once you have registered as an SP member, reach out to me and I'll add you to our very vibrant WhatsApp group chats where you would get access to the opportunities for young professionals, field trips and all that. Yes, then I have something to say to SP members, those of us that you already have up-to-date membership and you're good to go for this year. Do you know that if you register if you register or you're accountable for the registration of 5 people in SP, you get 1 free year of membership. So something that you should not sleep on. Myself, I have registered people and I've gotten my mail from SP saying that I am eligible for the next year free. So I'm not going to pay any membership dues. And I know that some of us on this call have also benefited from that. So in case you were not aware, now you know. Preach the gospel about SP. Tell your friends to tell their friends that SP is the place to be. All right, over to you, Kemka. Have a wonderful evening, guys. Hi, Kemka, are you still there? I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Manuela, for your passionate membership drive. I really appreciate your kind words and your the information you gave. We are behind time and we have to go to the next itinerary, being the closing remark. Is there any member of the technical team lead? Please indicate so that you give us the closing remark. Thank you. Once again, any member from technical team lead for closing remark.
All right, good evening, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, Israel. Go ahead.
All right. Okay, so Offer, just take it since you're already handling.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Once again, what a wonderful session it has been. On behalf of the section, we want to say a big thank you to our speaker for a really enlightening session. It was really insightful. Thanks so much for coming to share your wealth of knowledge with us and for responding to our many questions. Thank you, Engineer Maxwell. We look forward to having you soon again to share knowledge with us. And thanks to the moderator too for a wonderful moderation. On behalf of the technical team of the YPs of Section 103, we say a big thank to you all, and also to everyone that's still on the call. It's obvious that the session was really amazing for you. You had something to learn or to take home. That's why we do the technical sessions, to share knowledge, to ensure that our young professionals are equipped with the right skills. We don't just want to have the numbers, we want to have sound young professionals. So I'm really glad I can see all of you on the call. Thank you so much for joining. I see some of our students too that took time to join us this evening. The idea here is that you don't just leave after this session and don't apply what you have learned. Go apply what you've learned in your day-to-day activities. The scenario that our YP technical team lead mentioned about when you give birth to a child, you don't just leave the child to take care of itself. You will need to nurture your child. And our speaker has shown us how, as a Petrophysics, you can do that. So even if you're not a Petrophysics, you work in an integrated team where you have a reservoir engineer, a production technologist, and even a geologist. You can also share the knowledge you've gotten from here. Yes, we learned this from our technical session. You can even share it with your PP to say, why can't we do it this way? I attended a technical session that SP anchored, and this was what I learned. Why don't we try this? Why don't we do this? So it's very important that you share this knowledge with them so that as much as possible, you can get the best from your assets till end life of that asset. Thank you for joining. Thanks to everyone that participated, that moderated, for the membership drive. Thanks to YP co-chair for anchoring that. Let's keep in touch. So feel free to always reach out to us if you have questions. I'm always available. The YP co-chair is available, and any member of the YP technical YP leads for the different groups, they're always available to answer your questions. Do take care. We look forward to having another amazing technical session sometime next month. Continue to follow us on our social media handles. And of course, if you get registered, you'll be added to our vibrant YP group on WhatsApp. Thank you all. Do have a wonderful rest of your evening and happy holidays in advance. All right, I think we can take our national anthem now and then we can call it a day.